Captain Deho stood on the bridge of the Pioneer's Dream, watching the stars blur past the viewports. The ship was humanity's newest and fastest vessel, built with the latest jump drive technology. After 300 years of space travel, humans had finally learned to move faster than light. This mission would take them further from Earth than any human had ever gone before. "Jump complete, Captain," said Navigator Junki from his station. He was a young man with steady hands and sharp eyes. His job was to guide them through the dark spaces between stars. "We are now 47 light-years from home." Deho nodded. At 52 years old, he had spent most of his life in space. His face showed the calm confidence that came from commanding ships for 20 years. "Good work. Begin scanning for suitable planets." In the engine room below, Chief Engineer Boram was checking the new jump drive systems. She was 38 years old and one of the smartest people alive. The jump drive was her design, built from theories that most scientists said were impossible. She had proved them wrong. "Engine status report," Deho called over the ship's communication system. "All systems running perfectly, Captain," Boram replied. Her voice carried a note of pride. "The new drive is working better than expected. We could probably jump twice as far as planned." Science Officer Haya Jin looked up from her instruments. She was 29 and had joined the crew straight from the Space Academy. Her job was to study everything they found in deep space. "Captain, I'm detecting some unusual energy readings ahead. Nothing dangerous, but definitely strange." "Strange how?" Deho asked. "The readings don't match anything in our databases. It's like there's some kind of invisible wall out there, but made of energy instead of matter." Junki frowned at his navigation display. "I'm not seeing anything on sensors. Space looks empty to me." "Trust Hyejin's instruments," Deho said. "She's never been wrong about these things. What do you think it is?" Hyejin shook her head. "I have no idea, Captain, but it's big, really big. It seems to stretch for thousands of light-years in every direction." The bridge fell quiet. The crew had explored many strange things in space, but this was different. An invisible energy wall that stretched across the galaxy was not something they had trained for. "Should we investigate?" Junki asked. Deho thought for a moment. They were explorers. Finding new things was exactly what they were supposed to do. "Yes, but carefully. Take us closer, but slowly." The Pioneer's Dream moved forward through space. The ship was not large compared to military vessels, but it was fast and well built. It carried a crew of 26 humans, all volunteers who wanted to see what lay beyond the edges of known space. As they got closer to the energy wall, Hyejin's instruments began making loud beeping sounds. "Captain, the readings are getting stronger. Whatever this thing is, it's incredibly old. The energy patterns suggest it's been here for thousands of years." "Can we pass through it safely?" Deho asked. Boram's voice came over the speakers. "I think so, Captain. The energy doesn't seem hostile. More like a barrier or fence." "A fence around what?" Junki wondered aloud. "Only one way to find out," Deho said. "Take us through, but be ready to jump back if anything goes wrong." The ship moved forward. As they touched the energy barrier, the lights on the bridge flickered. Strange colors flowed across the viewports like liquid light. The ship shook slightly, but not dangerously. Then they were through. "Jump drive status?" Deho called. "Still working," Boram replied, but her voice sounded worried. "Though something's different. The energy patterns have changed. I need to run some tests." Hyejin was staring at her instruments with wide eyes. "Captain, you need to see this. The space on this side of the barrier is completely different." There are energy signatures everywhere. Some of them look artificial. Artificial how? Like machines, Captain. Very advanced machines. Junki was checking his navigation systems. Sir, I have a problem. Our position doesn't match any star charts. I think we're much further from home than we thought. Daeho felt a cold feeling in his stomach. How much further? I'm not sure, but based on the star positions, we might be hundreds of light years away from where we should be. Before anyone could respond, alarms began ringing throughout the ship. Red lights flashed on every control panel. What's happening? Daeho demanded. Unknown contacts approaching fast, Junki reported. Multiple ships, very large, coming from several directions. Hyajin's instruments were going crazy. Captain, these ships are using technology I've never seen before. Their energy output is enormous. On the main view screen, shapes began to appear. The ships were unlike anything humans had ever built. Some looked like they were made of crystal and light. Others seemed to be alive, with surfaces that moved like skin. All of them were much larger than the pioneer's dream. Are they hostile? Daeho asked. I don't know, Junki said. They're surrounding us, but they haven't fired any weapons. Try to contact them, Daeho ordered. Use all frequencies. Junki worked at his controls for several minutes. Then his face went pale. Captain, they're responding, but that's not the strange part. What's the strange part? They're speaking perfect Korean and English, and apparently every other human language. The main view screen lit up with an image. The being that appeared was tall and thin, with skin that looked like blue metal. Its eyes glowed with white light. When it spoke, its voice was calm but firm. Human. Vessel, you have entered forbidden space. You will surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded. Daeho stepped forward. I am Captain Daeho of the Earthship Pioneer's Dream. We are peaceful explorers. We did not know this space was forbidden. That does not matter, the alien said. Humans are not permitted beyond the barrier. You have violated treaties that are older than your civilization. What treaties? Daeho asked. We've never met your people before. The alien's expression did not change. That is correct. Contact was forbidden for your protection and ours. Now that protection has been broken. More ships appeared around them. The Pioneer's Dream was completely surrounded. There was no way to escape, even if their jump drive was working properly. Captain, Boram called from the engine room. I've figured out what happened to our jump drive. The energy barrier we passed through changed something. We can't jump back the way we came. Daeho felt the situation getting worse by the second. They were trapped in unknown space, surrounded by aliens who seemed to know about humanity, but had never made contact. Worst of all, the aliens acted like humans being here was some kind of disaster. Alien vessel, Daeho said to the screen. We are willing to cooperate, but we need to understand what's happening. Why are humans forbidden here? What treaties are you talking about? The alien was quiet for a long moment. Then it said something that made Daeho's blood run cold. You will learn the truth soon enough, human. But first, you must understand that by crossing the barrier, you have begun a chain of events that cannot be stopped. Your species' time of isolation is over. For better or worse, humanity must now face its destiny. The screen went dark. Around them, the alien ships moved closer, their weapons powered but not yet firing. The Pioneer's Dream drifted in space, small and helpless among giants. Daeho looked at his crew. They were scared, but determined. Whatever was coming, they would face it together. But he could not shake the feeling that crossing that energy barrier had changed everything, not just for them, but for all of humanity. Far across the galaxy, Admiral Velthara received the impossible message. The crystalline being stood 12 feet tall, its body made of living diamond that sparkled with inner light. For 3,000 years, Velthara had commanded the border, fleets of the Dominion Council. Never in all that time had the ancient warning systems activated, but now they were screaming. "Confirm the report," Velthara ordered. Its voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. The Nethvar communications officer floated nearby, its energy-based form shifting between colors. "Confirmed, Admiral. The humans have breached the containment barrier. One ship, small class, crew of approximately 26. Velthara's crystal form darkened with worry. "How is this possible? Their technology was primitive when we last checked. They had barely left their home planet." "Unknown, Admiral, but our sensors confirm it. They have achieved faster-than-light travel and crossed into forbidden space." The Admiral activated the Emergency Council channel. Across hundreds of star systems, the leaders of 12 ancient alien races received the alert. Within minutes, their responses came flooding back. Shock, disbelief, and most of all, fear. "Emergency session called," Velthara announced. "All council members must attend. The containment has been breached." Meanwhile, aboard the Pioneer's Dream, Captain Deho watched the alien ships move closer. Each vessel was the size of a small city, their hulls glowing with unknown energy. The human ship looked like a tiny insect surrounded by giants. "Captain," Engineer Boram called from below, "I'm reading massive energy spikes from those ships. If they wanted to destroy us, they could do it without even noticing." "Then why haven't they?" Science Officer Hyejin wondered aloud. She was studying the alien ships with her instruments. "These readings are incredible. Some of these ships seem to be made of pure energy. Others look biological, like they're alive." "Navigator." Junki was trying to map their position. "I've identified some of the star patterns. We're about 800 light-years from Earth, but in a direction no human has ever explored." 800 light-years? Deho felt his heart sink. Even with their fastest ships, it would take Earth decades to send help. They were completely alone. The main screen activated again. This time, a different alien appeared. This one looked more like a giant insect, with multiple arms and eyes that glowed green. When it spoke, its voice buzzed like a swarm of bees. "I am Commander Thexul of the Koreth Empire. You will shut down all your systems and prepare for boarding. Resistance will result in your destruction." "We are not resisting," Deho said carefully. "But we need to understand what's happening. Why are we forbidden here?" "You will understand when the Council decides what to do with you," Thexel replied. "Until then, you are prisoners." The screen went dark again. Around them, the alien ships began moving in complex patterns. Beams of light connected the vessels, forming a cage of energy around the human ship. "They're not taking any chances," Hyejin observed. "That energy cage would stop us even if our jump drive was working perfectly." Boram's voice came over the speakers. "Captain, I'm detecting boarding craft approaching. 3 ships coming from different directions." "All hands prepare for boarding," Deho announced to the crew. "Remember, we are peaceful explorers. Show no hostile actions, but be ready for anything." The first aliens to board were the insect-like Koreth. They moved through the ship's corridors like soldiers, their multiple arms carrying weapons that hummed with energy. Behind them came beings made of shifting light, the Nethvar energy creatures that seemed to float rather than walk. Captain Deho and his senior officers waited in the main cargo bay. When the aliens entered, the humans got their first close look at the beings who had been watching them from the stars. The Korath commander Thexel was even more impressive up close. Standing 8 feet tall, its 4 arms ended in hands that could crush steel. Its green eyes studied the humans like a scientist examining insects. The Nethvar that accompanied them was harder to look at directly. Its form kept shifting between different shapes and colors. When it spoke, the voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "I am Fleet Singer Morkess. We will examine your ship and your crew. Do not interfere." "We won't interfere," Deho said, "but we request that you treat my people with respect. We have done nothing wrong." Thexel made a sound that might have been laughter. "Nothing wrong. Human, you have no idea what you have done. Your species was never supposed to leave your solar system." "Why not?" Heejin asked. Her scientific curiosity was stronger than her fear. "What's so special about our solar system?" The 2 aliens looked at each other. Morkess spoke first. "That information is classified until the Council makes its decision." For the next 6 hours, the aliens searched every part of the Pioneer's dream. They examined the jump drive, the computers, the weapons systems, and even the food supplies. They asked hundreds of questions about human technology and civilization. Boram was forced to explain how the jump drive worked. "It uses quantum field manipulation to fold space," she said. "The math is complicated, but the basic idea is simple." The alien engineers studying her work seemed amazed. One of them, a crystalline being like Admiral Velthara, spoke in musical tones. "This technology should not be possible with your level of advancement. How did you discover these principles?" "We've been working on faster-than-light travel for 50 years, Boram replied. "I built on the work of hundreds of other scientists." "But you had no outside help? No contact with other species?" "None at all. We thought we were alone in the universe until today." The aliens exchanged looks that clearly meant something important. They continued their examination in silence after that. Junki was questioned about human space exploration. "How many ships like this do you have?" a Nethvar officer asked. "About 30 ships capable of interstellar travel," Junki answered honestly, "but most are smaller than this one." "And your population?" "About 12 billion humans, spread across our solar system, and a few nearby colonies." Again, the aliens seemed surprised by something. They asked many questions about human colonies, their locations, and their defensive capabilities. Haye Jin was asked about human science and culture. "Tell us about your species' history," commanded a tall gray alien with large black eyes. "We've had civilization for about 10,000 years, Haye Jin said. "We've had space travel for 300 years. We've always been explorers, always curious about what lies beyond the next horizon." "And warfare? How often do humans fight among themselves?" Haye Jin thought carefully. "We have had many wars throughout our history, but in the last century, we've learned to work together better. We had to, if we wanted to explore space." The alien made notes on a device that looked like living metal. "Interesting. Most species that achieve faster-than-light travel have unified their homeworlds centuries earlier." After what felt like forever, the examination ended. The aliens gathered in the cargo bay to speak among themselves in languages that sounded like music, static, and mathematical equations. Finally, Commander Thexel approached Captain Deho. "You and your crew will come with us. The Dominion Council will decide your fate." "What about our ship?" Deho asked. "It will be studied. Your technology is unexpected." As the human crew was led to the alien boarding craft, Boram managed to whisper to her captain, "Deho, I don't think they expected us to be this advanced. Something about our technology has surprised them." Deho nodded. He had noticed the same thing. The aliens seemed to know a lot about humanity, but their information was outdated. They had expected to find primitive humans, not spacefaring explorers with advanced technology. As they boarded the alien ship, Deho looked back at the pioneer's dream one last time. The little human vessel looked lost among the giant alien ships, but it had carried them farther than any human had ever gone before. Now they were about to learn why that journey might have doomed their entire species. The council chamber was enormous. Captain Deho and his crew stood in the center of a room that could have held a small city. Around them, in raised seats that stretched up into shadows, sat the representatives of 12 ancient alien species. Some looked almost familiar, like tall humans with different colored skin. Others were completely alien, beings of pure energy, creatures that looked like living rocks, and things that hurt to look at directly. All of them were very old, and all of them were staring at the humans with expressions that ranged from curiosity to fear. At the highest seat sat a being that seemed to be made of flowing silver metal. When it spoke, its voice echoed throughout the massive chamber. "I am Council Speaker Mordes. For 10,000 years I have served as the voice of this assembly. In all that time we have never faced a situation like this." Deho stepped forward. "Honored Speaker, my crew and I are grateful to appear before you, but we don't understand why our presence here is such a problem. We are peaceful explorers from Earth." "That is exactly the problem," Mordes replied. "Humans were never supposed to leave Earth. Your entire solar system has been under quarantine for 10,000 years. Engineer Boram spoke up. "Quarantine? From what?" A ripple of whispers went through the assembled aliens. Some of them looked afraid just hearing the question. Mordes was quiet for a long moment. Then the ancient being began to speak, and its words chilled the humans to their bones. 10,000 years ago, this galaxy was very different. There were hundreds of intelligent species, thousands of civilizations, billions of worlds filled with life. The galaxy was beautiful and peaceful. The speaker paused, and the silver metal of its body seemed to grow darker. Then came the Devourers. Science Officer Haye-Jin felt her heart start beating faster. "What are Devourers?" "Beings from outside our reality. They exist in the spaces between dimensions, in the dark places where normal matter cannot survive. They are always hungry, and they eat everything. Matter, energy, space, time, even the basic laws of physics." Navigator Jun-Ki's face had gone pale. "Where did they come from?" "We never learned that," Mordes continued. "One day they simply appeared, pouring through a crack in reality near the center of the galaxy. They consumed entire star systems. In minutes, whole civilizations vanished as if they had never existed. The council chamber fell silent except for the sound of human hearts beating too fast. "The war lasted 300 years, the speaker said. "The 12 species you see here are all that remain of what was once a galaxy full of life. We lost everything. Our home worlds, our colonies, 90% of our people. But we learned how to fight them." Admiral Velthara, the crystalline being, spoke next. "The Devourers cannot exist in normal space for long. They need anchor points, places where the barriers between dimensions are weak. We found their primary anchor point and attacked it with everything we had." "Did you destroy them?" Boram asked. "No. Velthara said sadly. We could not destroy them, but we managed to drive them back and seal the dimensional crack they came through. The seal holds them in their own dimension, unable to return to ours. That's good, isn't it? Junki said. Mordess's metal form began to glow with a strange light. The seal is anchored to a specific point in normal space. If that anchor point is disturbed, the seal will break, and the devourers will return. Deho felt ice forming in his stomach. Where is the anchor point? Your solar system, specifically your planet Earth. The human crew stared at the aliens in shocked silence. Finally, Hyejin managed to speak. You're saying Earth is holding back interdimensional monsters? Not Earth itself, corrected another alien, one that looked like a giant tree with eyes. The dimensional barriers around your solar system, your sun, your planets, even the empty space between them, all of it has been changed by proximity to the dimensional seal. Boram's engineer mind was racing. That's why you quarantined us. You were afraid we'd damage something. Exactly, Mordess said. Any major disturbance to your solar system could weaken the seal. We could not risk contact with your species until we were certain you would never develop technology advanced enough to be dangerous. But we already have that technology, Deho pointed out. We built faster-than-light ships. We have fusion reactors and quantum computers. The aliens looked at each other with expressions the humans couldn't read. Admiral Velthara spoke again. That is what terrifies us, Captain. According to our models, humans should not have been able to develop such technology for at least another 1,000 years. Yet here you are. Maybe your models were wrong, Hyejin suggested. Our models have been accurate for every other species. We have studied, replied a floating sphere covered in tentacles. Humans are different. Commander Thexel, the insect-like alien, buzzed angrily. Different and dangerous. We should have made contact centuries ago and guided their development properly. That was forbidden, Mordess said firmly. The treaty was clear. No contact until we were certain they could not threaten the seal. What treaty? Deho demanded. The speaker's metal form shifted and flowed as it accessed ancient memories. After the seal was placed, we discovered that your planet had already developed primitive life. We faced a choice. Destroy all life on Earth to ensure the seal's safety, or find another way. You considered destroying Earth? Boram asked, horrified. Some council members voted for that option, Mordess admitted, but others argued that destroying an entire biosphere would itself damage the seal. So we chose a different path. Quarantine, Junki said. Yes, we place monitoring stations throughout your solar system, hidden from your detection. We watched your species develop, ready to intervene if you became a threat to the seal. Hyejin was putting the pieces together. But something went wrong. We developed faster than you expected. Much faster, confirmed the tree-like alien. And there's something else. Your technology operates on principles that should be impossible so close to the dimensional seal. Boram frowned. What do you mean? Admiral Velthara answered. The area around the seal is saturated with interdimensional energy. Most electronic devices malfunction there. Quantum effects become unpredictable. Even our most advanced technology has trouble operating in your solar system. But human technology works fine, Boram said slowly. Better than fine, Velthara corrected. It works perfectly, as if it was specifically designed to operate in an interdimensional environment. The humans looked at each other with growing understanding and horror. You think we've been changed, Deho said. living so close to the eye, seal for thousands of years. "We know you have been changed," Mordes said. "The question is how much, and what it means." Commander Thexel buzzed with agitation. "It means they are dangerous. Their very presence here proves the quarantine has failed. The seal could be weakening." "Is it?" Hyajin asked. "Weakening, I mean?" The council chamber fell silent again. The aliens looked at each other with expressions that were clearly afraid. Finally, Mordes spoke. 3 days ago, our deep space monitoring stations detected unusual readings from the seal. Small fluctuations, barely noticeable. They began exactly when you crossed the quarantine barrier. "So our being here is making it worse," Junki said. "We don't know," admitted the floating sphere. "The fluctuations could be coincidence, or they could mean the Devourers have sensed that something has changed." Deho felt the weight of his entire species' future pressing down on him. "What happens if the seal breaks?" "The Devourers return," Mordes said simply. "This time there are only 12 species left to fight them, and we are much weaker than we were 10,000 years ago. We would lose." "How long would it take them to consume the galaxy?" Boram asked. Admiral Velthera's crystal form dimmed. "Based on our previous experience, perhaps 50 years, maybe less." The human crew stood in stunned silence. They had come to the stars seeking adventure and discovery. Instead, they had learned that their entire species was sitting on top of a bomb that could destroy all life in the galaxy. And now, just by being here, they might have lit the fuse. Deep in the void between dimensions, something stirred. The Devourers had been trapped for 10,000 years, pressed against the barriers of reality like prisoners against the walls of their cell. They had grown patient in their hunger, waiting for any sign of weakness in the seal that held them. Now they felt it, a tiny crack, barely noticeable but growing larger. The dimensional barrier near Earth's solar system shivered. For just a moment, the space between realities grew thin. Through that weakness, shadow creatures began to seep into normal space like oil through broken stone. The first attack came at the edge of the galaxy, where an isolated research station monitored cosmic radiation. The 3 scientists working, they never knew what hit them. One moment they were recording data. The next moment, they simply ceased to exist. The station continued broadcasting for 6 hours before anyone realized that the signals were coming from empty space. Admiral Velthara received the report while the human crew was still being held in the council chamber. The crystalline being's form flashed with alarm as it read the details. "Council speaker," Velthara announced, interrupting the ongoing discussion. "We have an emergency. Research Station Omega-7 has gone silent. When we sent a probe to investigate, we found nothing. The entire station has vanished." Mordes turned its attention from the humans to the Admiral. "Define vanished." "Complete molecular dissolution. No debris, no energy signatures, no trace that anything was ever there. The space where the station existed is now completely empty." A wave of fear rippled through the assembled aliens. They all knew what molecular dissolution meant. Only one force in the universe could make matter disappear so completely. Captain Deho noticed the change in atmosphere immediately. "What's happening?" "The Devourers," whispered the tree-like alien. "They're already breaking through." "Commander," Thexel buzzed angrily. "I told you the humans were dangerous. Their presence here has weakened the seal." "We don't know that," Mordes said, but its voice carried doubt. More reports began flooding in. Another research station gone. A small mining colony on the galaxy's rim simply vanished between one communication check and the next. Each attack left behind nothing but empty space where life had existed moments before. Meanwhile, aboard the captured pioneer's dream, engineer, Boram was making discoveries that would change everything. The aliens had allowed her to continue studying the ship's systems while they ran their own tests. What she found confused her at first, then excited her, then terrified her. "Captain," she called through the communication system, "I need to speak with you immediately." The alien guards allowed Deho to visit the engine room, where Boram was surrounded by displays showing energy readings and quantum field calculations. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a complex diagram. "I've been analyzing what happened when we passed through the quarantine barrier. Our jump drive didn't malfunction like I thought." "What do you mean?" "The energy field around the barrier interacted with our systems in ways that should have been impossible, but instead of damaging the drive, it enhanced it. Our jump range has increased by 300%. Deho stared at the readings. "How is that possible?" "I think it's because of where we come from," Boram said excitedly. "Living in Earth's solar system for thousands of years has changed our technology. Not just the hardware, but the basic principles we use." She pulled up another display showing the fundamental physics behind their faster-than-light drive. "Look at these quantum field equations. According to normal physics, they shouldn't work. But they do work perfectly because we developed them in an environment saturated with interdimensional energy." "You're saying our technology is naturally adapted to fight the Devourers?" "I'm saying our technology operates on the same principles the Devourers use to move between dimensions. We've been unknowingly building weapons against them for centuries." Before Deho could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the alien ship. Emergency lights flashed red, and alien voices spoke urgently in languages the humans couldn't understand. Science Officer Haya Jin's voice came over the speakers. "Captain, you need to get back here. Something big is happening." Deho rushed back to the holding area where his crew was being kept. The aliens guarding them looked frightened, constantly checking their communication devices and weapons. "What's the situation?" Deho asked. 12 more colonies have vanished in the last hour," Haya Jin reported. "The attacks are getting closer to the core systems. And Captain, I've been monitoring the alien communications. They're talking about evacuation plans." Navigator Jun Ki looked up from the star charts he'd been studying. "From what I can tell, the Devourers are working their way inward along specific paths. They're not attacking randomly." "What kind of paths?" "Energy currents. The attacks follow the galaxy's natural electromagnetic field lines, almost like they're using them as highways." Haya Jin nodded. "That matches what I'm seeing in the energy readings. The Devourers aren't just breaking through randomly. They're following the weakest points in dimensional space." A new alarm sounded, this one much louder and more urgent than the others. The alien guards received messages that made them look even more frightened. Commander Thexel appeared on the room's communication screen, its insect features twisted with panic. "The seal is failing faster than our worst projections. 3 major colonies have been consumed in the last 30 minutes. At this rate, the Devourers will reach the core systems within days." Deho stepped forward. "Commander, my engineer has made an important discovery about our technology. You need to listen to what she's learned. Your primitive technology is irrelevant," Thexel buzzed. "We are implementing evacuation procedures for all civilian populations." "Our technology isn't primitive," Deho insisted. "It's specifically adapted to work in interdimensional environments. We might be able to help." Thexel's multiple eyes focused on the human captain. "Help? Your species caused this problem by breaching the quarantine. Maybe we caused it, Deho admitted, but maybe we can also solve it. Before Thexel could respond, another alien appeared on the screen, Admiral Velthara. The crystalline being's form was flashing with urgent light. Patterns. Commander, we've lost contact with the outer defense fleets. The Devourers have consumed 3 entire battle groups. Our weapons are having no effect. What about the reality anchors? Thexel asked. They stabilize local space for a few minutes, then fail. The Devourers adapt to our technology too quickly. Boram pushed forward. Admiral, can you hear me? The human engineer, Velthara, acknowledged. You claim your technology can help? I think it can. Our equipment operates using quantum principles that are naturally disruptive to interdimensional entities. We've been unknowingly building anti-devourer technology for generations. Admiral Velthara was quiet for a moment. Explain. Boram quickly outlined her discoveries. Our fusion reactors create quantum interference patterns that should disrupt the Devourer's ability to phase between dimensions. Our computer systems use chaotic quantum calculations that could confuse their navigation. Even our basic radio communications operate on frequencies that might be harmful to them. Theoretical, Thexel buzzed dismissively. Maybe, Boram admitted. But what other options do you have? The 2 aliens looked at each other through the communication link. Around them, more alarms were sounding as additional colonies fell to the advancing Devourers. The humans may have a point, Velthara said finally. Our traditional weapons are useless against this new incursion. Perhaps it's time to try something different. What are you suggesting? Thexel demanded. Test their claims. Give them access to one of our ships and see if their technology can be adapted to our defense systems. Deho felt his heart racing. We'll need our own ship back. The Pioneers. Dream has all of our most advanced systems. Absolutely not, Thexel replied. You will work under our supervision with our equipment. With respect, Commander, Deho said. Our technology works because of how it's integrated. You can't just bolt human systems onto alien ships and expect them to function. Admiral Velthara's crystal form brightened. He may be correct. Human technology appears to operate on fundamentally different principles. Integration might be impossible. Another urgent message interrupted them. An entire star system had gone dark. Not just the planets, but the star itself had been consumed, leaving nothing but empty space where a solar system had existed for billions of years. Decide quickly, Velthara urged. We're running out of time and options. Thexel was quiet for a long moment, its multiple eyes studying the human faces on the screen. Finally, it made a decision that would change the course of the war. Return their ship. Give them a small escort fleet. But if this fails, if their presence makes things worse, we will destroy them ourselves. Deho nodded grimly. Understood. We'll do everything we can to help. As the communication ended, he looked at his crew. They were about to test human technology against beings that had nearly destroyed the galaxy once before. If they were wrong, they would die. If they were right, they might just save every living thing in the galaxy. Either way, humanity was about to prove whether they deserved their place among the stars. Captain Deho stood alone in his quarters aboard the Pioneer's Dream, staring at the quantum communication device the aliens had given him. With it, he could send a message to Earth instantly, across 800 light-years of space. The problem was deciding what to say. The ship had been returned to them, but it was now surrounded by a fleet of alien vessels. Some were there to help, others to make sure the humans didn't try to escape. The tension was obvious in every communication. Engineer Boram had spent the last 12 hours working with alien scientists to modify their ship's systems. The modifications were dangerous and experimental. They were essentially turning the pioneer's dream into a weapon against beings that existed outside normal reality. "Captain," came He-Jin's voice over the intercom, "Council Speaker Mordes is requesting to speak with you." Deho activated the communication system. The ancient alien's silver form appeared on his screen, looking more worried than he had ever seen it. "Captain Deho, I have troubling news. Our long-range sensors have detected massive dimensional disturbances near your solar system. The Devourers are focusing their efforts there." Deho felt his blood run cold. "Are they attacking Earth?" "Not yet. But they are gathering at the edges of your system in enormous numbers. It appears they have realized that the dimensional seal is anchored there. How long before they attack?" "Unknown. But when they do, the results will be catastrophic. If they succeed in breaking the seal completely, they will have unlimited access to our dimension." Deho closed his eyes. His home, his people, everything he had ever known was about to become a battlefield in a war they didn't even know existed. "Council Speaker, there's something I need to ask you. Something that's been bothering me since we learned the truth." "Ask." "You said the seal is anchored to our solar system. But you also said humans have been changed by living so close to it. How much have we changed?" Mordes was quiet for a long moment. "More than we initially realized. Your engineers' discoveries have forced us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about your species." "Meaning?" "Meaning humans may not be entirely human anymore." The words hit Deho like a physical blow. "What are you saying?" 10,000 years of exposure to interdimensional energy has altered your species at the genetic level. Your brains process information differently. Your technology develops along paths that should be impossible. Even your social structures have adapted to function in a reality where normal physics don't fully apply. Deho sat down heavily. "So we're... what? Part alien?" "You're part interdimensional," Mordes corrected. "Living beings that exist partially in normal space and partially in the spaces between dimensions. It's why your technology works so well against the Devourers. You operate on the same principles they do." Before Deho could respond, new alarms sounded throughout the ship. Boram's voice came over the speakers, filled with excitement and fear. "Captain, you need to get down here immediately. We're receiving a transmission from Earth." Deho rushed to the engineering section, where his crew was gathered around a massive display screen. On it was the face of Admiral Sung-min, the head of Earth's Deep Space Command. The transmission was crystal clear, despite the enormous distance. "Pioneer's Dream. This is Admiral Sung-min. Captain Deho, please respond." Deho activated the reply system. "Admiral, this is Captain Deho. How are you receiving our transmission? We've been tracking your quantum communication signals for the past day. Our scientists have been working around the clock to boost our receivers. Captain, what's your status?" Deho looked at his crew, then at the alien observers who were monitoring. Every word. "Admiral, I need to tell you some things that are going to be hard to believe." For the next hour, Deho explained everything. The quarantine, the dimensional seal, the Devourers, and humanity's role in holding back interdimensional horrors. He watched Admiral Sung-min's face change from confusion to disbelief to grim acceptance. "So you're telling me," the Admiral said, finally, "that Earth is sitting on top of an interdimensional prison and we've accidentally let some of the prisoners escape." That's a simplified way to put it, but yes. And these alien allies of yours want our help to fight beings that nearly destroyed the galaxy once before. They're not exactly our allies yet, Daeho corrected. But yes, they need our help. Admiral Sung Min was quiet for a moment. Captain, I need to ask you something directly. Do you trust these aliens? Daeho considered the question carefully. I trust that they're terrified. I trust that they're desperate. And I trust that they need us more than they want to admit. But do you trust them with Earth's future? Admiral, I don't think Earth has a future if we don't help them. The transmission was interrupted by urgent signals from the alien fleet. Commander Thexel appeared on a secondary screen, its insect features showing extreme agitation. Human vessels, we have an emergency. Devourer forces have begun probing attacks on your homeworld. Your planetary defense systems are engaging them. Now, Admiral Sungmin's face went pale. What? We haven't detected any hostile forces. You wouldn't, Thexel explained. Devourers exist primarily in interdimensional space. Your sensors can only detect them when they partially manifest in normal reality. How are our defenses doing? Daeho asked. Better than expected, Thexel admitted reluctantly. Your orbital defense platforms are equipped with fusion reactors and quantum computers. Both are creating interference patterns that are disrupting the Devourer's attacks. Boram looked excited. I was right. Our technology is naturally effective against them. For now, Thexel warned. But the Devourers are adapting. Each attack is stronger than the last. Your defenses will not hold for long. Admiral Sung Min leaned forward. How long do we have? Perhaps days, maybe less. Daeho made a decision. That would change everything. Admiral, I'm going to ask you to do something that sounds insane. I need you to mobilize every ship, every station, every armed vessel in the solar system. For what? For war. The kind of war humanity has never fought before. Against interdimensional monsters. Yes. Admiral Sung Min was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. Captain, 30 minutes ago, I received reports of unidentified energy signatures attacking our outer colonies. 3 mining stations have gone silent. My people are already dying. Admiral, the answer is yes, Captain. We'll mobilize everything we have. But I need you to promise me something. What? Promise me we have a chance, even a small one. Daeho looked at his crew, then at the alien observers. Engineer Boram nodded encouragingly. Navigator Jun-Ki gave him a thumbs up. Science officer Hai-Jin simply said, "We can do this." We have a chance, Admiral. Maybe not a good one, but a chance. Then Earth is mobilizing for war. How soon can you get home? Commander Thexel answered before Daeho could. Impossible. The space around your solar system is saturated with devourer forces. No ship could penetrate their lines. Then we'll make our own path, Daeho said. Boram, can our modifications handle a direct jump into a combat zone? The modifications are untested, Boram warned. We could materialize inside a star or scatter ourselves across several dimensions. But it's possible. Theoretically. Daeho turned to the alien commander. Thexel, can your fleet support us? Our fleet will escort you as far as possible. But we cannot guarantee your survival. We're not asking for guarantees. We're asking for a chance to save our people. Admiral Sungmin spoke from the screen. Captain, before you make this jump, there's something you should know. Our scientists have been studying the energy readings from the attacks. They think the Devourers aren't just trying to break the seal. What do you mean? They think the Devourers are trying to use Earth itself as a gateway. If they succeed, they won't just have access to our dimension. They'll be able to invade any dimension they choose. The implications hit everyone at once. This wasn't just about saving the galaxy. If the Devourers succeeded, they could spread across the entire multiverse, consuming every reality that existed. Deho looked at his crew one more time. Are we ready to go home? Navigator Junki was already calculating jump coordinates. Course. Laid in, Captain. Engineer Bo-Ram's hands were dancing over her controls. All systems ready. The modifications are as stable as I can make them. Science Officer Hye-Jin activated her scanning equipment. Sensors configured for interdimensional detection. Captain Deho turned to Commander Thexel. We're going home to fight for Earth. Will you fight with us? The alien warrior's multiple eyes gleamed with something that might have been respect. For the first time in 10,000 years, humans will not face this enemy alone. Deho nodded and turned to his crew. Take us home. Let's show these Devourers what humanity can do. The jump from alien space to Earth's solar system was unlike anything the crew of the Pioneer's Dream had ever experienced. Bo-Ram's modifications to their drive system created a tunnel through interdimensional space that glowed with impossible colors. For 37 minutes, they traveled through regions where mathematics broke down and physics became suggestions rather than laws. When they finally emerged into normal space near Jupiter, Captain Deho could hardly believe what he saw. Earth's solar system had become a fortress. Thousands of ships filled the space between planets. Military vessels, civilian transports, mining ships, research stations, and even luxury cruise liners. All of them had been hastily armed with weapons that had never been designed for space combat. Orbital platforms surrounded every major planet, their surfaces bristling with missile launchers and energy weapons. My God, whispered Navigator Junki. How did they mobilize so fast? Humans move quickly when their home is threatened, replied Admiral Sungmin's voice over the communication system. Welcome back, Captain. Report to the command station near Mars. We have a lot to discuss. The command station was actually 3 large space stations linked together by metal tubes. It had been assembled in less than 2 days, using parts from dozens of different facilities. It was ugly, cramped, and completely functional. Exactly what humans did best under pressure. Admiral Sung-min met them at the docking bay. He was a tall man in his 60s, with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Behind him stood Captain Minna, a woman in her 40s who commanded Earth's largest battleship, and Colonel Wu Jin, who led the planetary marine forces. Captain Deho, Admiral Sung-min said, shaking hands with the explorer. Your message certainly got our attention. We've been preparing for the fight of our lives. What's the current situation? Deho asked. Captain Minna pulled up a holographic display showing the entire solar system. Red dots marked enemy positions, blue dots showed human forces. The red dots outnumbered the blue ones by at least 10 to 1. The Devourers are massing at the edge of the system, she explained. They seem to be waiting for something. Maybe building up their strength. Our outer monitoring stations report that more of them arrive every hour. What about Earth's defenses? Holding for now, Colonel Wu Jin reported. But it's strange. These creatures should be able to overwhelm us easily, but they're being cautious, almost like they're afraid of something. Engineer Bo-Ram looked at the tactical display with interest. They're afraid of our technology. Just like I thought, our equipment is naturally disruptive to their interdimensional abilities. Explain that to someone who hasn't been living with aliens for the past week, Admiral Sung Min requested. Boram quickly outlined her discoveries about human technology and its effects on interdimensional beings. As she spoke, the military officers' expressions changed from skepticism to understanding to excitement. "So you're saying our fusion reactors are actually weapons?" Captain Minna asked. "Not weapons exactly, but they create quantum interference that makes it hard for devourers to maintain their form in normal space. Our computer systems confuse their navigation. Even our radio communications cause them pain." Colonel Wu Jin grinned. "I knew there was a reason I always hated alien technology. Turns out human engineering is better after all." Before anyone could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the command station. The holographic display lit up with new contacts, massive objects emerging from interdimensional space near Neptune. "What are those?" Admiral Sungmin demanded. Science Officer He Jin was studying her instruments. "The energy signatures match devourer patterns, but they're much larger than anything we've seen before. These aren't scouts or raiders. Those are devourer battle formations," came a new voice. Commander Thexel had arrived with a small fleet of alien ships. The insect-like warrior appeared on the main communication screen. "Each formation can consume an entire planet in hours." "How many ships do they have?" Captain Minna asked. "Ships is the wrong word," Thexel corrected. "Devourers don't build vessels. They grow them from their own substance. What you're seeing are living creatures the size of small moons." The humans stared at the tactical display in stunned silence. The enemy forces approaching Neptune were beyond anything they had imagined fighting. "How do we kill something that big?" Colonel Wu Jin asked. "In the past, we used reality anchors to pin them in normal space, then concentrated all our firepower on single targets," Thexel explained. "But they've grown stronger during their 10,000-year imprisonment. Our old tactics may not work." Admiral Sungmin studied the enemy positions for a long moment. Then he turned to his staff with the expression of a man who had made a difficult decision. "Dr. So-young, report to the command center immediately." "Who's Dr. So-young?" Daeho asked. "Our chief scientist," Admiral Sungmin replied. "If we're going to fight interdimensional monsters with human technology, I want our best minds working on the problem." Dr. So-young arrived within minutes. She was a small woman in her 50s, with intense eyes and graying black hair. Her reputation as a genius was legendary throughout the solar system. "Admiral, I've been monitoring the situation," she said, without preamble. "The quantum interference patterns these creatures generate are fascinating. They operate by shifting matter between dimensional phases, essentially existing in multiple realities simultaneously. Can we stop them?" Admiral Sungmin asked. "Possibly. I've been studying the data from our orbital defense platforms. Every time they engage the enemy, our fusion reactors create quantum echoes that disrupt the Devourer's phase shifting. If we could amplify that effect..." Engineer Boram stepped forward. "I've been thinking the same thing. What if we linked all our reactor systems together? Created a network that could generate interference across the entire solar system?" Dr. So-young's eyes lit up. "A quantum resonance cascade. It's theoretically possible, but the power requirements would be enormous." "We have 15 major space stations, 47 large ships, and hundreds of smaller vessels," Captain Minna said. "How much power do you need?" "All of it," Dr. So-young replied. "Every reactor, every power cell, every fusion plant in the solar system. And we'd need to coordinate them perfectly, down to the nanosecond." "Can it be done?" Admiral Sungmin asked. "Give," Me 12 hours and access to every engineer and scientist in the fleet, Dr. So-Young said. I'll give you an answer. Before anyone could respond, new alarms sounded. The Devourer formations near Neptune had begun moving inward toward Mars. At their current speed, they would reach Earth in less than 18 hours. We don't have 12 hours, Admiral Sung-min said grimly. Do the best you can in 6. As Dr. So-Young and Boram rushed off to begin their work, Captain Daeho found himself alone with the senior military officers. They were studying the tactical display with the calm intensity of people who knew they were about to fight for the survival of their species. Admiral, Daeho said, there's something else you should know. The Alien Council offered us advanced technology, new worlds to colonize, membership in their galactic civilization. All we had to do was sacrifice ourselves to permanently seal the dimensional rift. And? Admiral Sung-min asked. I turned them down. Captain Minna looked surprised. You turned down advanced alien technology? I told them we'd rather fight, that humanity doesn't surrender, even when the odds are impossible. Colonel Woo-jin laughed. Good for you. I never liked the idea of going quietly into the night. The problem is, Daeho continued, if we lose this fight, we lose everything. Not just Earth, but every living thing in the galaxy. Maybe the entire universe. Admiral Sung-min nodded. Then we don't lose. It's not that simple. These creatures destroyed most of galactic civilization once before. They're stronger now, and there are fewer allies to help us. But they've never fought humans before, Captain Minna pointed out. They don't know what we're capable of when we're protecting our home. What are we capable of? Daeho asked. Colonel Woo-jin grinned. Let's find out. Over the next 6 hours, the human fleet underwent the most rapid technological upgrade in history. Ships that had been built for exploration were fitted with experimental weapons. Civilian vessels had their cargo holds converted into missile launchers. Even passenger liners were equipped with quantum resonance amplifiers. The work was chaotic, dangerous, and completely improvised. By any reasonable standard, most of the modifications should have failed catastrophically, but human engineers had learned to work with technology that operated on interdimensional principles, even if they didn't fully understand those principles. Dr. So-Young's team succeeded in linking the reactor systems of over 300 ships and stations. The quantum resonance network they created was unlike anything that had ever been built before. It was held together by determination, luck, and the peculiar way human technology seemed to work despite violating several laws of physics. Is it ready? Admiral Sung-min asked as the Devourer formations approached the orbit of Mars. Ready as it's going to be, Dr. So-Young replied. But Admiral, I have to warn you, if this fails, the quantum feedback could destroy every reactor in the system. We'd be left completely powerless. And if we don't try? The battle began at exactly 1437 Earth Standard Time, when the first Devourer formation reached the orbit of Mars. The creature was the size of a small moon, its surface rippling with dark energy that made reality bend around it. As it moved through space, stars seemed to flicker and dim, as if the universe itself was being consumed. Captain Minna commanded the lead battle group from her ship, the Defiance. It was humanity's largest warship, but compared to the approaching Devourer, it looked like a toy boat facing a tsunami. All ships, this is Captain Minna, she broadcast to her fleet. Remember, we're not trying to destroy that thing. We're trying to hold it in normal space long enough for the quantum resonance network to take effect. The human ships opened fire with everything they had. Missiles streaked through space, followed by energy beams and kinetic projectiles. The weapons struck the Devourer's surface and simply vanished, absorbed into its interdimensional mass without causing any visible damage. "Weapons are ineffective," reported her tactical officer. "The creature is phasing out of normal space every time we hit it." "Expected," Minna replied. "Keep firing. Force it to work to avoid our attacks." Meanwhile, near Jupiter, Admiral Sung Min watched the battle from the command station. Dr. So Young and Engineer Bo Ram were monitoring the quantum resonance network, making constant adjustments as ships throughout the system activated their modified reactors. "Network status?" Admiral Sung Min asked. 60% of ships are online, Bo Ram reported. "But the interference patterns are chaotic. We need more time to synchronize the quantum frequencies." "How much more time?" 20 minutes, minimum. Admiral Sung Min looked at the tactical display. The Devourer formation near Mars was already overwhelming Captain Min-Ah's battle group. More formations were approaching from every direction. Earth had maybe 10 minutes before the enemy reached the inner system. "We don't have 20 minutes, he said grimly. Near Mars, the situation was getting desperate. The Devourer had split into 3 smaller creatures, each one still massive but more maneuverable. They were hunting human ships like predators, appearing out of interdimensional space to attack, then vanishing before the humans could respond. Captain Minna watched her fleet being picked apart. The heavy cruiser Sol had vanished completely, consumed by a Devourer that had materialized inside its engine room. The destroyer Busan was drifting powerless, its crew evacuated after their fusion reactor had been drained of energy by an enemy. "Attack!" "This isn't working," her tactical officer said. "We can't fight enemies that can appear anywhere at any time." "Yes, we can," Minna replied. She activated the ship's communication system. "All remaining ships, new tactic. Stop trying to avoid them. When they attack, ram them." "Captain?" her first officer asked, confused. "Our ships are naturally disruptive to their interdimensional abilities. Physical contact forces them to stay in normal space. If we can hold them here long enough—" She didn't finish the sentence. Everyone understood what she meant. It was a suicide mission. The human ships changed their tactics immediately. Instead of running from the Devourers, they flew directly at them. When the creatures materialized to attack, the human vessels crashed into them at full speed. The result was devastating for both sides. Human ships were torn apart by the impact, their crews killed instantly. But the Devourers were forced to remain in normal space, their forms disrupted by contact with human technology. "It's working," Dr. So Young announced from the command station. "The quantum interference is building. Every ship we lose creates more disruption in the enemy formations." Admiral Sung Min felt sick watching his people die, but he could see the larger picture. The sacrifice was working. The Devourers near Mars were having trouble maintaining their interdimensional abilities. Their attacks were becoming slower and less coordinated. Then, new alarms sounded. The main Devourer force had reached Earth's orbital space. These creatures were even larger than the ones at Mars, and there were dozens of them. They surrounded Earth like a dark cloud, their presence making the planet's magnetic field fluctuate wildly. On the surface, the aurora borealis appeared in broad daylight, painting the sky with impossible colors. Colonel Wu Jin commanded Earth's orbital defenses from the moon base. His weapons platforms opened fire on the approaching enemies, but the results were the same as at Mars. The creatures simply absorbed the attacks without apparent damage. "Sir," his communications officer reported, We're receiving a transmission from the surface. The President wants to speak with you. Put her through. President Kim appeared on the main screen. She was a woman in her 60s who had led Earth through its expansion into space. Her face was calm, but her eyes showed the strain of watching. Her world being attacked by impossible enemies. Colonel, what's our status? Bad, ma'am. The orbital platforms are holding them off for now, but these things are just too big. We need a new strategy. What about evacuation? Where would we go? These creatures have surrounded the entire system. There's nowhere to run. President Kim nodded. Then we make our stand here. Colonel, I'm authorizing the use of all strategic reserves. Everything we have. Ma'am, the strategic reserves are just fusion warheads. They won't be any more effective than our conventional weapons. Maybe not, but they'll make a hell of a statement. Colonel Wu Jin smiled grimly. Yes, ma'am. All platforms, prepare strategic weapons for immediate launch. Meanwhile, in space near Jupiter, Dr. So Young was making a desperate discovery. Admiral, I think I know why our weapons aren't working. Explain. The Devourers aren't just absorbing our attacks. They're using the energy to strengthen themselves. Every time we hit them, we're making them more powerful. Admiral Sung Min felt his heart sink. So we can't fight them with conventional weapons? Not directly. But the quantum resonance network is different. Instead of giving them energy, it's disrupting their ability to process energy. If we can get enough of the network online... How much is enough? All of it. Every reactor in the system, operating in perfect synchronization. Boram looked up from her controls. Admiral, we're at 85% network coverage, but we're losing ships faster than we can replace them. Some of the outer stations have gone dark. Admiral Sung Min studied the tactical display. Human forces were being destroyed throughout the system, but their sacrifice was having an effect. The Devourer formations were moving more slowly, their attacks less coordinated. The quantum interference was building. How long until we can activate? The full network? He asked. 5 minutes, Dr. So Young replied. Maybe less. And how long until Earth's defenses fail? 2 minutes, Colonel Wu Jin reported from the moon base. These things are adapting to our tactics. They're learning to ignore the orbital platforms and go directly for the planet. Admiral Sung Min made the hardest decision of his life. All ships, this is Admiral Sung Min. We're accelerating the timeline. Begin network activation immediately. Sir, Boram protested. The synchronization isn't complete. If we activate... Now, the quantum feedback could... Could what? Could tear apart local space-time. We might accidentally create our own dimensional rift. And if we don't activate? Earth dies in 2 minutes. Admiral Sung Min looked at Captain Daeho, who had been quiet throughout the battle. Captain, you started this whole situation. Any final thoughts? Daeho smiled. Admiral, I've spent my entire career exploring the unknown. Creating dimensional rifts sounds like the ultimate exploration opportunity. Dr. So Young, begin activation sequence. Across the solar system, the quantum resonance network came online. 300 ships and stations began operating their fusion reactors in perfect harmony, creating interference patterns that resonated through multiple dimensions simultaneously. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The Devourers, suddenly, found themselves unable to phase out of normal space. Their massive forms became solid, vulnerable to conventional weapons for the first time in 10,000 years. All ships, weapons free, Admiral Sung Min ordered. Hit them with everything we have. The human fleet unleashed every weapon in their arsenal, Missiles, energy beams, kinetic projectiles, and fusion warheads struck the trapped devourers from every direction. For the first time in the battle, the creatures showed signs of damage. But the victory came at a terrible price. The quantum feedback from the network was tearing apart human ships throughout the system. Reactors overloaded, hulls cracked, and entire vessels simply disintegrated as space-time became unstable around them. Network holding at 90%, Boram reported, her voice strained. But we're losing ships to quantum stress failure. How many ships can we afford to lose? At this rate, all of them. Near Earth, Colonel Wu Jin watched the trapped devourers writhing in pain as human weapons tore into their interdimensional forms. But new creatures were still arriving, pouring through dimensional space faster than the humans could destroy them. "Admiral," he reported, "we're killing them, but there are too many. For every one we destroy, 2 more appear." Captain Min-Ah's voice came over the communication system, weak but determined. "Admiral, this is the Defiance. We're down to emergency power, but I have an idea." "Go ahead, Captain." The dimensional seal activation began at 1522 Earth Standard Time. Every human ship in the solar system simultaneously overloaded their quantum reactors, creating a cascade of interdimensional energy that rippled outward from Earth like a shockwave. Captain Deho felt the pioneer's dream shudder as reality itself bent around them. Through the viewports, space seemed to fold in on itself, creating impossible geometries that hurt to look at directly. The stars went out, then returned, then changed colors before settling back to normal. "Network status. Critical. Engineer," Boram reported. Her voice strained as she fought to keep their systems stable. "Quantum harmonics are off the scale. We're operating in theoretical physics territory now." The effect on the devourers was immediate and terrifying. The massive creatures suddenly found themselves completely trapped in normal space, unable to retreat to the safety of interdimensional reality. They began making sounds that no human had ever heard before, a combination of whale song and grinding, metal that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "They're panicking," Science Officer Hyajin observed, studying her readings. "Their energy patterns show extreme distress. I think they realize what we've done." "Admiral," came Captain Min-Ah's voice over the communication system. "The devourers near Mars have stopped attacking. They're just floating there." "Admiral," Sungmin watched the tactical display with amazement. Throughout the solar system, the interdimensional creatures had ceased their assault on human forces. Instead, they were clustering together in defensive formations, like frightened animals seeking protection. "Open a communication channel," he ordered. "All frequencies, all dimensions we can reach." Dr. So Young worked at her controls for several minutes. "Channel open, Admiral, but I don't know if they'll understand us." "Attention, Devourer forces," Admiral Sungmin broadcast. "This is Admiral Sungmin of the Human Defense Fleet. You are now trapped in our dimensional space. We can keep you here permanently, or we can negotiate your release." For a long moment, there was only silence. Then the communication system erupted with sounds that seemed to come from the spaces between thoughts, whispers in languages that had never existed, mathematical equations that described impossible realities. Navigator Jun-Ki was working frantically at his translation computers. "I'm getting fragments, Admiral. They're trying to communicate, but their language operates on principles our minds can't fully process." "Can you make out anything?" "They're asking, no begging, not to be trapped here permanently. They say, Being locked in normal space is like being buried alive. Haya Jin looked up from her instruments. Admiral, I'm reading massive energy spikes from all the Devourer formations, but it's not aggressive energy. It's more like grief? Captain Deho had been listening to the alien communications, and something about their tone reminded him of refugees rather than conquerors. Admiral, what if we've been looking at this wrong? What if they're not invaders? What do you mean? Think about it. They've been trapped between dimensions for 10,000 years. Maybe they're not trying to destroy our reality. Maybe they're just trying to find a new home. Before Admiral Sung Min could respond, a new voice joined the communication channel. It was Commander Thexul, speaking from the alien fleet that had followed the humans back to Earth. Human Admiral, this is unexpected. You have done something we thought impossible. But be careful. Trapped Devourers become desperate. Desperate. Beings do unpredictable things. Commander, can your people help us communicate with them? We will try, but understand. We have been enemies for 10,000 years. There may be too much hatred for meaningful dialogue. Over the next hour, a strange three-way conversation developed. The humans served as mediators between the alien council forces and the trapped Devourers, while Jun Ki worked to improve the translation systems. Gradually, a story emerged that changed everything they thought they knew about the war. The Devourers had not been conquerors. They had been refugees from a dying universe, fleeing through dimensional space as their reality collapsed around them. When they entered this galaxy 10,000 years ago, they had been starving and desperate, consuming matter and energy not out of malice, but out of survival instinct. The war that followed had been a tragic misunderstanding. The Council species had seen the consumption of their worlds as an invasion. The Devourers had seen the Council's attacks as an attempt to drive them back into their dying universe. So both sides were fighting for survival, Deho said quietly, and both sides were terrified of extinction. That is correct, human, came a new voice. This one was different from the others, clearer, more understandable. One of the Devourers had learned to modulate its communication to human frequencies. We call ourselves the Wanderers. We have been searching for a new home for millennia. Your dimensional space seemed perfect, but the beings already here attacked us before we could. Explain our need. Commander Thexel buzzed with anger. You consumed entire worlds, billions of lives. We were starving, the Wanderer replied sadly. In our desperation, we took what we needed to survive. We did not understand that the energy we consumed was connected to living beings. Where we come from, life exists in different forms. Admiral Sung-min felt the weight of 10,000 years of war and misunderstanding settling on his shoulders. So what happens now? We can't keep you trapped here forever, but we can't let you consume our reality either. Dr. So Young had been studying the quantum readings throughout the conversation. Admiral, I might have a solution. The dimensional seal we created isn't just trapping them in our space. It's also creating stable connections to other dimensional realities. Meaning? Meaning we could help them find uninhabited universes where they can exist without threatening existing life. The seal could become a gateway instead of a prison. The Wanderer who had been speaking grew excited. This is possible? You would help us find new homes? If you promise never to consume inhabited realities again, Admiral Sung-min said. And if you help us repair the damage from this war. What followed was the strangest negotiation in human history. Over the course of 6 hours, humans, council aliens, and interdimensional refugees worked out an agreement that would reshape the galaxy. The Wanderers would help stabilize the dimensional barriers around Earth, making the solar system safe from future interdimensional threats. In return, humanity would use their unique technology to help guide Wanderer expeditions to uninhabited realities where they could establish new colonies. The Council species would end their isolation and begin working with humanity to explore and protect the galaxy. The quarantine around Earth would be lifted, and humans would be welcomed as full members of the galactic community. "There's one more thing," Captain Deho said as the agreement was being finalized. "We need to make sure this never happens again. The next time refugees from a dying universe show up, we need to be ready to help them instead of fighting them." "What do you suggest?" Admiral Sung-min asked. "A new organization. Humans, Council species, and reformed Wanderers working together. We could call it the Interdimensional Rescue Service." 6 months later, Captain Deho stood on the bridge of his new ship, the New Horizon. It was a hybrid vessel, built with human engineering, Council technology, and Wanderer dimensional sciences. Behind him, his crew included both humans and aliens working together for the first time in galactic history. Engineer Boram had been promoted to Chief of Interdimensional Engineering. Her modifications to human technology had become the standard. For all ships operating in unstable dimensional spaces, Navigator Jun-ki now served as head of the translation department, helping establish communication protocols with dozens of newly discovered species. Science Officer Hye-jin led the new Dimensional Studies Institute, researching ways to detect and assist refugees from dying realities. Admiral Sung-min had established the Human Deep Space Navy, with Captain Min-ah commanding the exploration fleets and Colonel Woo-jin leading the new Interdimensional Marine Corps. Dr. So-young directed the Quantum Research Division, working on technologies that could help stabilize dimensional barriers. Throughout the galaxy, "Captain," came a voice from the communication station. "We're receiving a distress signal from the Andromeda Galaxy. Unknown dimensional signatures, possibly refugees from a collapsing reality." Deho smiled as he looked out at the stars. "Set course for Andromeda. Let's see who else needs help out there." The New Horizon jumped into interdimensional space, carrying its mixed crew toward a new adventure. Behind them, Earth continued its journey around the sun, no longer isolated, but now serving as the hub of an interdimensional rescue network that spanned multiple realities. The galaxy had learned that sometimes the greatest strength came not from superior weapons or advanced technology, but from the simple willingness to help strangers in need. And humanity, with their stubborn refusal to give up and their talent for finding solutions others had never considered, had become the guardians of the spaces between worlds. The age of isolation was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And, somewhere in the vast darkness between dimensions, other lost travelers were about to discover that they were no longer alone.